My name is Kylan Rutherford. I'm a postdoctoral research fellow at New York University's Center for Social Media and Politics. What I'm interested in understanding right now is how the incredible technology tools that are emerging and the different media sources that are emerging, how people use them and how that might be good or that might be bad. So one example is we've got a research project looking at AI, and if AI tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity are useful in a situation where somebody's trying to understand misinformation. So we're experimenting. We have a bunch of people who are fact-checking articles. Some of them just use reading, some of them use Google, some of them use AI tools, and we're basically evaluating, does using the tool actually help them get it right? Can they identify this article is true, this article is false? And what we're finding is actually it makes it worse. In the case of misinformation, AI can actually make somebody more likely to believe the misinformation, just because a lot of times there aren't a lot of good links that the AI can rely on. Sometimes if there's a knowledge cutoff, it's limited. So the familiarity and the conversation about it, rather than debunking some misinformation, actually just reinforces the misinformation. Another thing we're looking at is podcasts. Podcasts are kind of a new emerging media source that's incredibly decentralized. Everybody knows somebody who's got a podcast at this point, which is great. There's a lot of access to, the ability to communicate ideas, the ability to converse with people. It's become very accessible. A lot of people listen to it while on their commute, etc. But what we're finding is kind of the patterns in podcasts. A lot of people are interested in a podcast because they like sports. They like a sports team. What we're finding is that political content crops up in a lot of these podcasts. And there's interesting correlations between political leanings and the type of topics that are discussed in podcasts that really kind of in this past election, we're discovering a lot of people weren't that interested in politics. They didn't come to a podcast for a political discussion, but they did get 10, 15 minutes of a very concentrated and very specific political leaning on the content. There are so many different people working in this space, and there's not a lot of communication. The tech groups are doing a ton of internal research. The academics are doing a ton of internal research. The practitioners, nonprofit organizations, government organizations are all working in this space, and we're just now starting to talk to each other. That has stopped short of data sharing. In fact, in a lot of cases, specifically with social media platforms, the amount of openness has actually doubled back. Their platforms are less open than they were 4 or 5 years ago. So that data access is limiting what the other groups are able to do and are able to understand with the system. So if you're trying to understand what is the impact of technology A on group B, it would really help to know what technology A is actually doing, and it's harder to understand that. Now, my background, I studied political science and was initially studying international relations and international development. A few things happened that kind of steered me to where I'm at now. One was COVID made fieldwork really not an option. So thinking about what I could do, without having to be in a certain location, what I was able to study. And also during COVID, going home and seeing my siblings. This was an opportunity, kind of an exceptional moment where we were all brought together, we were all home together, but even though there was that kind of geographic proximity, we were all on our own devices. We were all completely disconnected. And this was, right at the emergence of TikTok. So it was interesting to see how something that in theory, I remember, in my high school period, social media was marketed as, oh, we're going to bring people together. We're going to bring people closer. Now we're seeing it's actually separating a lot of people. It's dividing us, and it's, even if we're in the same room, keeping us distant. So that kind of sparked a lot of questions about, okay, well, can I model this? Can I study this? Are there patterns that I can actually get at from a data standpoint? And lo and behold, yeah, there are a lot of people who have laid a phenomenal groundwork for research in this space, despite decreasing access to some data from platforms. There's a lot of increasing access to clever tools, to collaborators, to other fellows through the Siegel Family Endowment. that's really been able to help feel like even in an era of hopelessness and scary stories about what's going on, it's cool to be able to connect to people who want to make a difference, and I would really hope are able to make a difference. One of the biggest questions I've been grappling with recently is just where do we go from here, and who's going to lead us? There are it's kind of the paradox of research and really spending time investigating a question. You get to the point where you realize we know absolutely nothing. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. I think we're at an interesting influx moment. I'm trying to not be too doom and gloom. I think a lot is at stake. We're at risk of losing a lot of things that we've held dear. I also think there's a lot of opportunity for innovation. And my question right now is who's going to lead? And I'm obviously not going to be the one. I'm ready to do my part and to join up. But I think one of the big questions is how do we identify and train leaders for the next generation? And how do we, in an era of incredibly high communication, how do we really communicate and communicate and agree on how we're going to go forward?